Hi there, this is Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films, and welcome to another episode of Filmstock. Today I'm going to talk nonsense about directors who do a bit of acting. So this isn't actors who have directed a few films. So Clint Eastwood's not in this list. George Clooney's not in this list. This is directors who do a bit of acting. Obviously there's different levels. Again, this is not going to be the complete list. I would like you to put a list of your favourite directors who do a bit of acting in the comments below. So from the silent days, directors have sometimes appeared in their own films. But this is directors who have appeared in other people's films, so it's not just a case of vanity or saving the budget by having the director be in his own film, and that saves somebody else being paid. So obviously in the silent era, you had George Melly appearing in some of his fantastical films himself, Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, and Victor Sonstrom, who appeared in The Phantom Carriage, which is fantastic, even though he is probably more famous for being in Wild Strawberries, but he was a director, writer and actor himself. But I'm going to start with David Cronenberg, who has appeared in quite a lot of films. He appears briefly in some of his own films. He was the obstetrician in The Fly, after all. But one of his best performances is in Nightbreed, Clive Barker's Nightbreed, where he gives a chilling performance as a serial killer. He's recently been in Star Trek Discovery, which I haven't actually watched, but I probably will have to. He's in Viggo Mortensen's directorial film Falling. He's been in a Friday the 13th film, Jason X. He was in Into the Night. He's been in Extreme Measures. And he's always fantastic because he's David Cronenberg. Then you have Martin Scorsese, who a lot of the time puts himself in his own films, probably for vanity reasons. He often plays photographers. His most famous cameo in his own film, where he does actually speak, is in Taxi Driver. That you should see. You should see that. That should see. But for me, my favourite performance of his is in Robert Redford's Quiz Show, where he plays this malevolent kind of chief executive of the company that may or may not putting pressure on the quiz show to fix the quiz show, and his wonderful product Geritol. He gives a really smarmy but slightly threatening, powerful little performance. He's only in a couple of scenes, but he's actually really slimy and threatening without going over the top, and he has that cheeky little smile but is also quite threatening. He's also in Guilty by Suspicion, and obviously he appears in a segment of Kurosawa's Dreams playing Vincent van Gogh. But he does put himself in his own films as well. A little bit of Hitchcock, who we'll go on to, who isn't an actor, but he just put himself in the background of his own films as Easter eggs before Easter eggs were Easter eggs. There was Hitchcock. The next one is Takeshi Kitano, which might be a slight cheat, because Kitano, certainly in Japan, is probably more famous for being his beat Kitano persona and being a comedy and TV star rather than a director. Whereas outside Japan, he is probably more known as being one of the most singular and unique directors of the 90s on. Yes, you could say Kitano doesn't have that much range, but what he does he's very good at. But semantics wise, that might be a slight cheat, because certainly, like I say, in Japan, he's probably more famous for being the comedy TV star rather than the director. He was the best thing in Ghost in a Shell, and he was in Johnny Mnemonic. I think I always mix them up with the one with Denzel Washington. But Kitano is fantastic. Generally in Kitano films, but he was also in Gohato, and obviously he's been in Hollywood films as well. The next one, again, which might be slightly contentious, is of course Orson Welles. Probably people who perhaps aren't cinephiles as much might think of Orson Welles more of an actor rather than a director. But obviously I think we all consider him more of a director who does a lot of acting. Again, he appeared in his own films a lot, partly because of budget and probably partly because of ego. But you have to remember, even from high school days, he was directing high school plays, and then he went to theatre and he was directing and also acting. So I think director-actor goes hand in hand with Orson Welles. I'm not sure there was one before the other. Probably acting slightly first. But he's always been a director-actor. He described himself as a king actor, so which pretty much as it says on the tin. He was very good at playing kings and authority figures, but obviously as an actor he's probably more famous for Harry Lime and the immortal Third Man. But he's a legend. Next is Shenya Sukimoto, who might actually be the best actor out of this bunch. Again, he has appeared in his own films, but again, that's probably most of the time due to budget restrictions, so it saves paying another actor. He has more range than Kitano, but he's also been in Scorsese's The Silence, Scorsese's remake of The Silence. He's been in a few Takashi Miike, most notably Dead or Alive 2 and Ichi the Killer. He gives a wonderful turn in Ichi the Killer. But Sukimoto, as well as being a great director, is also a wonderful actor. And late to the party is Werner Herzog, who has like a Hall of Fame career as both a fiction director and a non-fiction director. But he's also late to the game in being a fantastic actor as well. His performance in Jack Reacher is arguably the reason for having the film, certainly the reason that I've got the film on Blu-ray. He's just tremendous without his thumb and his fingers. Why do people always choose the gun when you can just chew your own thumb off? But he's done voiceovers, Rick and Morty. He appears in The Mandalorian, which I haven't seen. But late to the game, he's picking up paychecks, playing interesting characters. I mean, Herzog playing himself would be interesting. I'm sure that helps fund his documentaries, his non-fiction films. Yeah, Herzog's just a wonderful, strange person anyway, so he gets to play wonderful, strange characters. Or Francois Truffaut, who cropped up in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We have John Sayles, who does a bit of acting in his own films, but he's also been in The Electric Mist, and Matinee, Malcolm X, Something Wild, The Howling, briefly. And again, those little jobs probably help fund his films. Obviously not a great actor or anything, but we're all going to make a living. Lucio Fulci, again, he appears in a lot of his own films. Again, probably for budget reasons to save taking on an actor. Because let's be honest, Lucio Fulci is hardly Laurence Olivier. And then a couple of 80s legends, Joe Dante and John Landis, who again generally turn up in cameos. You know, John Landis does a good turn in his own Into the Night, but they're more just fun and games to help out friends, rather than being serious actors. Obviously mentioning Laurence Olivier, but he was an actor first before he started directing himself in his own films, the Shakespearean adaptations. So that's just a handful of directors who do a bit of acting and are rather enjoyable to watch. Again, leave your list and the names of the directors that you like who do a bit of acting on the side. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. I'm sure I've forgotten really obvious choices, but that's just some of the ones that I enjoy. So thanks very much for watching this rambling bunch of nonsense, as I like to call Filmstock, and hopefully you'll join me again sometime. This is Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films, saying cheerio.